So an opinion that I've started seeing pop up now that people have started reaching the end game of Honkai Star Rail, or at least the maximum amount of content that they can do in the end game, is that this game is more grindy than Genshin Impact. And I think there are a couple of reasons why that is. There are some legitimate reasons like the actual format of this game that make it feel more grindy, as well as I think there are some more meta reasons for why that is. I'm just going to cover one of them, like one of the main reasons why I find this more grindy immediately. And I think this is objectively true, which is that when it comes to Echoes of War, this is essentially a trance domain in Genshin Impact. If you don't know what a trance domain is, it's basically a weekly boss. Now, the way it works in Genshin Impact is that you can only do the same weekly boss once, and then you have to fuck off and do another weekly boss. There are 3 discounts, so there are 30 resin that you can spend on each boss for 3 times, and then all the rest of the bosses you can do for 60 resin. Except in this case, it's a bit different, but also at the same time the same. In this game, in Honkai Star Rail, you can do the same boss multiple times, up to 3 times. And you can collect them all for 30 resin. So if you go to Inter Astro Space Guide, you can see that it always costs 30 Trailblaze Flower. It doesn't go up to 60 once you do 3 of them, but you can only do 3 of them at any time. So you can do 3 of this boss and then collect rewards for this boss for 3 times a week, but then you can't do this boss ever again because you don't get rewards for that, which is really frustrating. And I'm not sure this is a better system. I thought it was kind of funny because at first people said that this was actually a better system than Genshin Impact, but what I find now is that I have a character that I want to level up. I want to level up for, so you go to Traces for Belt, right? And then I can level this up, sure, why not? But then now I want to level this up, but I need an Ascension material, a Trace Ascension material from Echo of War, but I've already collected all of the Trace materials I can get from this domain, so I'm kind of just fucked. I have to wait until the next week. So that's one reason why I find that this game might feel more grindy and more time gated, because, well, in this instance I do think it is actually worse than Genshin Impact. So moving on to one meta reason that I think it might still feel more grindy than Genshin, but not really, and that's because this game is younger. It doesn't have as much content as Genshin Impact. So for a new player in Genshin Impact, for example, let's take Zepla for instance. Zepla could play Genshin Impact without running out of content for over 2 months because she started much later in the game, and I feel like a lot of Genshin players who are moving to Honkai Star Rail, or at least trying out Honkai Star Rail, are used to having a lot more content in Genshin. We have, I think it's 4 regions now in Genshin. I think there's like Monchet, there's Liyue, there's Inazuma, there's Sumeru, so that's 4 regions right off the bat for any new player starting Genshin right now. Whereas in Honkai Star Rail, it's like, realistically, it's like 2 regions max. We have Herta Space Station, which is kind of like the tutorial zone, but it also has a bunch of like, not a bunch, but there's like at least 4 mini regions you can go to, so that's like half a region. And then there's also Shinjo Lofu, which is half done right now, so that's like another half region. So that's like 1 region, and Uriel 6 is the only full region we have right now. So that's essentially 2 regions we have in the game right now. Whereas in Genshin Impact, it's 4 regions. Another reason why this game might feel more grinding without actually being more grinding is not an open world game. And that changes how you play the game. In Genshin Impact, if you're bored, you can basically walk in one direction aimlessly and then find a puzzle to do or meet an NPC. And then you just do that quest for them and then you get rewards. In this game, it's much more deliberate. Like, all of your quests essentially, the way you're alerted to them is that you look at this incoming message notification, which is essentially your phone, and then a bunch of randos will text you and tell you to do this or that. And if you don't want to look at this shit, then you basically do not interact with the quest system at all. I mean, sure, you can go into these mini areas and randomly find things to do by talking to objects and shit, but that still doesn't feel as interactive as Genshin Impact because these are mini areas. You've already done the same thing in this game that you've already done in Genshin Impact, if you've played Genshin Impact, that is. And I think for a lot of people that is going to be watching this, that is exactly the case. You've already reached the end game, you know what to expect. For example, in Genshin Impact, when I first started playing it, I didn't even realize that there would be like 5-star artifacts. So I would level up all my 4-star artifacts and it felt like I was advancing all the time, that I was making my character bigger or better. Whereas in this game, it feels a lot worse to level up 4-star artifacts because I know that at some point I'm going to get 5-star artifacts, or relics as they call them in this game. And that just makes it feel more of a grind because it feels like I'm making less real advancements. Whereas in Genshin Impact, I felt like I was making advancements all the time. And it didn't feel as much the case that I was wasting, resin on things that will just become obsolete as I get later into the game. This is not the case in Honkai Star Rail because we already have so much like pre pre-farmed information from Genshin Impact that also apply to this game. We know what the end game is going to be like roughly, even though there's more stuff to do. Again, there's 2 different sets of Spiral Abyss now in this game, but the way you prepare for those endgame contents is the exact same you would prepare for them in Genshin Impact. It's almost like we've already played the endgame before, even though it is technically new content. So those are just 3 reasons why I think this game might feel a bit more grindy than Genshin. It feels more familiar. There is less open world content, there's less spontaneity, and this game does legitimately have things that I don't like when it comes to comparisons to Genshin Impact. I really do think that this Echo of War system probably is legitimately more grindy. You have more choice on what you want to spend your resin on, but it's also capped at a lower level than in Genshin. Especially if you want to just farm globally or you're just looking for stuff to do. In Genshin Impact, I can just, farm all of the bosses if I want to, depending on how much resin I have. In this game, it doesn't matter how much Trailblaze power I have. I can only do the bosses 3 times. Alright, that's it. That's basically all I have to say for grind.